Ahead of the Full Effect Chicago on October the 3rd in, funny enough, Chicago, I'm delighted to be joined by Alex Knight, who's Head of Global Sales at Baton Systems, and Ronn Baker, who's Director of North American Sales at Baton Systems. Gentlemen, thanks for joining me ahead of the event. Alex, you are launching core payments in Chicago at the FIA, and I thought it'd be a great opportunity to get you to talk maybe about some of the key benefits of what this new product is actually going to bring.
Sure. Thanks, Colin. Nice to talk to you. So I think we can break the benefits down into three separate areas. From a top line perspective, what core payments does is it really allows businesses the ability to scale. And when I think of this, I think of it in two different dimensions. First of all, removing the constraint of settlement lines and the constraint that they bring to businesses in terms of growing their market footprint. But also eliminating manually intensive post-trade processes that we all know are prone to bottlenecks, prone to risk, and prone to service issues as well. So as well as top line growth, cost reduction, of course, is the front of everybody's mind right now. Yeah. So where core payments brings value here is reducing costs associated with operations and technology through automation and smarter technology, reducing funding costs because of better processes around settlement orchestration, and reducing the impact of the frequency and impact of fails and funding breaks. So really a large cost for many firms, and one that's very awkward. And then finally, everybody thinks about risk and supervision. So the ability to bring real-time data to operations and business leads regarding the status of large obligations, sensitive obligations, and notifications of fails before they happen, as they happen, rather than the following day. That combined with the automated and controlled release of settlements based on real-time data, these bring really effective control processes to businesses.
My main focus is FX, but is this, I mean, it's primarily an FX product, but are there broader applications for core payments?
Yeah, it's a good question. Although we expect FX to be a major component of the flows serviced through the core payment solution, we need to be clear that this goes beyond FX and includes all cash flows across an enterprise. And in fact, we break FX trades into two component cash flows linked with a common reference, and each designated as a settlement candidate in its own right. The solution straddles product as well as functional technology and operating silos, allowing them to work in unison. So there's no need to rip and replace the existing infrastructure, although we provide the opportunity for firms to do so by migrating functionality progressively to a new environment. In short, core payments allows organizations to focus on what they do best, servicing their clients and growing their business.
Alex, you mentioned there sort of reconciling transactions, and the ability to reconcile transactions in real time is a key feature of core payments. How is it actually achieved, and why is this important?
So let's start with sort of the current situation, which is that most firms only reconcile their actual payments against their expected payments on the day after value date. And this is just common across the industry. And so other than some really laborious, often inaccurate manual checks for those very highly sensitive transactions or counterparties, firms operate on the basis that they assume that their counterparties have or are going to meet their obligations. And this, of course, creates a material gap in control. And acknowledgement of that gap, which of course firms have, forces them to then take a cautious approach in terms of servicing counterparties and the exposure that they have with those counterparties, because they have no other alternatives. And that in turn limits market access and limits the footprint of most businesses. So that's the current situation and why it's important. And thinking about how we solve it, let's be clear, this isn't simple. This was simple, this would have been done by everybody a long time ago. So we're pulling together all of the payment-related messages in real time using a combination of simple matching logic with machine learning, then overlaid by AI. And we're able to achieve very high rates of matching with a very high degree of confidence at the point of the payment being completed. Now, it won't be complete to start with. So what we then do is we work to identify those transactions, those counterparties, where the immediate match requires further work. We triage that to bring the matching rate right up to the very highest level possible.
Right. Yeah. And Ron, I mean, obviously, as I just said, the reconciliation piece is vitally important. But are there other places we can extract value from core payments?
Oh, yeah, this is great. There are many areas, but I'm going to give you 3 quick examples. First, increased netting. This is available through a high degree of flexibility in the configuration of netting rules by counterparty and product, but reinforce the automation of the pre-settlement affirmation process, which is for many firms such a very time-consuming and error-prone. Secondly, the ability to create settlement rules on the fly, responding to counterparty events and market events, and ensuring appropriate controls and supervision at all times. And thirdly, once you start generating and storing time-based, time-stamped data, it can be used as a predictor of future behavior, and in the automated optimization process and alerting process that you deploy from within the core payments platform.
Yeah. And I mean, it's interesting, Alex, because obviously what I'm hearing now is a lot of flexibility around how it's going to be used. But I mean, it strikes me that, is core payments going to be about more than just operations? Where else can it?
Well, I think the answer to that is yeah, absolutely. And I think, so many of the conversations we have, we start with business leaders who then point us towards people in their operations functions, because let's face it, what Baton does is post-trade. But I think what emerges from the conversations as they get deeper and deeper is the need that business leaders have to benefit from real-time data. In times of market stress, it is the business leader that wants to know what the settlement risk is against a certain counterparty. He or she wants to find that information immediately, directly, themselves very quickly, and have confidence in the data that they're looking at. So areas around market stress, around identifying potential or actual points of failure in the settlement process, identifying perhaps service issues. These are all areas where I think business leaders in the business function as well as in the ops function really benefit from having access to real-time data and being able to implement controls, as Ron just mentioned, that are relevant to the situation of a counterparty or of a market situation.
And I guess we'll close out, Ron. We'll close out in some good news. You recently won an FX Innovation Award from Euromoney for Core FX. Where does core payments fit into the product suite of Baton? And I guess I'm specifically thinking alongside Core FX.
Yeah, this is exciting news, and the exciting thing about this is that this is the same tech stack as core payments or Core FX, but it has many of the same components, integration points, and being deployed in a slightly different way. Importantly, for core payments, only the primary user or customer needs to be a client of Baton. And the counterparties are not required to be a node on the ledger. They don't need to change their settlement process, and there's no need to adhere to a rule book. So to counterparties, the users of core payments look and feel the same as they did before. They're just operating smarter, right? It's also important to know that we expect our customers to operate using the core payments platform and the core FX platform, these workflows working alongside each other and delivering PVP for some flows and controlled settlements for the remainder.
Yeah. It's a fascinating space. The developments are moving along quite quickly, aren't they? Gentlemen, thank you very much for sharing your time with me today. Hopefully we'll have plenty more to talk about in the post-race space in the coming months.
Thank you, Colin.
Thank you, Colin.